With his unique talent to pinpoint exactly what is needed to correct a situation, Dr. Atkins ensures that you skyrocket your way to success and continued weight loss and great health. To ensure that you have your questions answered, we asked Dr. Atkins a few questions ourselves. Join us, won't you?
Welcome back. I would imagine by now you've got a few questions. Well, we've provided for that. We have a lot of people right here who are going to ask the questions, which it wouldn't surprise me at all, might well be the very questions that you'd like to have answered. And that's what we have our staff here, and we're going to start. First of all, let me introduce my people. I have our Director of Nutrition right here, Colette Heimowitz. She is responsible for the entire staff of nutritionists, which we have at the Atkins Center. And then we have our Director of Cardiology, Dr. Patrick Fratellone. He's made the Atkins Center a center for understanding cardiology and how to reverse heart disease. And right now, I want to see if we have any people who have some questions. Does somebody have one, and would you like to start?
Sure.
Please do.
Dr. Atkins, I've been on the diet now for about 2 to 3 weeks, and I've lost a lot of weight, but
good.
I've now plateaued, and I've been at a plateau for about a week, and I can't seem to get past that.
Okay, now that's not really unusual, because this is what usually happens. During the first 2 weeks, you lose fluid. By the third week, that fluid comes back. You see more pounds come off the scale the first 2 weeks when the fluid is gone, and then you see a miniature plateau. However, there are real plateaus. And when they happen, this is why they usually happen. The first 2 weeks, you may be on the strictest version of the diet. Then you begin to add things. As you add, you still look like you're doing very well. But you may have added just a little too much, and that may have caused the plateau. The answer then would be to go back to the induction diet, the one that worked so well, and see if it doesn't get the weight loss started up again. Now, does anybody else have something that you'd like?
Yes, I try to encourage the patients not to get fixated on the scale, because the scales are not psychic. It can't tell you how much lean body mass you have and how much fat. And because you're having so much protein on the diet, you create lean body mass. So if you looking at your inches by measuring your waist and your hips and your chest, and if you see 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch come down, you know you're still succeeding. If you check your ketones and you know that's the byproduct of burning fat, you know you're being successful. So do not, and by all means, do not weigh yourself every day, because your weight normally varies 5 pounds within a few days. It's not going to tell us how much fat you have. It's only going to tell us how much that whole body weighs, and a lot of it could be muscle. Stay away from the scale, check your ketones, check your inches, and watch how you feel. If you're feeling better, you're not craving sugars, you're not obsessed with food anymore because your blood sugar is steady, then you're succeeding.
Anybody else got a question?
Yeah, I'm an athlete and I like to work out a lot. Does that mean that I should be taking in more carbs?
A lot of people want to teach you that, but it has been shown that, I'm talking about competitive athletes now. Carbo loading may work, but this is what the research has shown. Olympic athletes who were cyclists were put on a low carbohydrate diet. At first, they couldn't keep up with their usual numbers, their usual time. It took no more than 2 weeks before they were able to do their Olympic level accomplishment just as well as they could before. So the answer is, stay with the diet, you'll be able to do things quite well.
Also, it's not a good idea to start the program before a competitive meet. You want your body to be adjusted to a fat metabolism rather than a sugar metabolism. And fat metabolism is a much cleaner fuel, so you're less likely to hit the wall like certain athletes do when they carb load, and the energy would be more steady during the meet. But it's better that you're on the program for at least 2 weeks before you attempt that.
Okay, now, do we have somebody else who has a question?
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
I like to have a glass of wine or a drink with my dinner in the evening. I know that these things At least on the labels, they say that they don't have very many carbohydrates. Is it okay if I just count that into my carbohydrate intake?
The wine is sort of the first thing you might add in. Alcohol doesn't act like a carbohydrate, but it does interfere in one way. Alcohol is the first fuel that your body burns. It would burn before carbohydrates. It certainly burns before fat burns. So it's just going to slow down. You're getting to the point where you're living off your stored fat, which is basically the secret of the Atkins diet. So once you're past the initial level, a glass of red wine might be very appropriate.
So I should wait till I achieve my weight loss, and then maybe...
Or get into the intermediate phase called the ongoing weight loss. When you're on that, if the glass of red wine is what you're looking for, more vegetables or more than strawberries or more than something else, then add that. Because it's actually good for you.
My husband and I are both on this diet, and I'm menopausal, and he's losing weight faster than I. Is that normal?
Yes, that is unfortunate, isn't it? Nature is unkind. However, our metabolisms aren't working as efficiently. And when we run out of our normal, natural estrogen in our bodies, we resort to the stored estrogens that we have in our fat cells. And that's the kind of estrogen that they give to cows so they get fat. You know, and that kind of estrogen will put fat on a woman. Also, that little pouch that you get in the belly, that's nature's way of storing with a little estrogen we do have circulating for when the levels go very low. And our hormones are on a roller coaster ride. So the menopausal and the perimenopausal women will not lose as rapidly as their husbands. Exercise is the thing that you need to do. The nutrients is the thing that you need to do. And keeping a positive attitude and knowing it'll take you a little longer, but as long as you're running on a fat metabolism, you're creating lean body mass, and you're retarding the aging process. Glucose is one of the things that increases the aging process. So if you want to slow down the aging process, control those blood sugars, and you will slow down the menopausal type symptoms, and things will go just as well, but not as fast.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we have another person. Okay.
Follow the Atkins diet for a few days. I feel tired and fatigued. So what's going on and what's happened?
You got tired right at the very beginning, is that right?
It's a
Right
few
at the very
days, yes.
beginning. Okay, now what that means, the timing is very important. If you get tired right away or develop any symptoms right away, that's easily withdrawal symptoms. That means that one of the carbohydrates, or all of the carbohydrates that you were eating, you had become dependent on them, and you haven't made the changeover yet. It sometimes takes a little while before your body gets the idea that you're going to have to burn fat in order to have fuel. But just stay with it, because by the third day or the fourth day, you should be over that, and you should be burning your fat, and once that happens, you're going to have a lot of energy. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we have somebody else? Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I have another question, Dr.
Okay.
Atkins. As I said, I've been on the diet a few weeks now, but I still find myself periodically really craving sugar and going a little wild. What can I do about that?
Well, you know, the craving for sugar, we have a very specific way to do it. When you crave sugar, you can't just ignore it. That's the one thing you don't do. Because if you ignore it, you'll still crave it. You have to eat something. You have to eat something which will stabilize your sugar. Interestingly enough, that food is fat. It is fat that will stabilize your sugar. Meanwhile, you want something sweet. So what do? Heavy cream. Heavy cream that is sweetened. And so we have a lot of ways of sweetening heavy cream. You can use a shake mix that's low in carbohydrate, chocolate flavored. Mix that with heavy cream. That's my favorite. But also bear in mind that there are some phytonutrients that are specific for overcoming craving. At the top of the list is chromium. You're going to have to make sure that you take plenty of chromium. I like the picolinate the best. Also, at the other top of the list is L-glutamine. L-glutamine is something that you should take when you take your heavy cream, and you take glutamine, maybe a teaspoonful, maybe 2 or 3 capsules, but do them both at the same time, and you will say, isn't that incredible? For the first time in my life, I have learned how to overcome craving.
If I may add something to that, when you're on the diet, it acts as a natural appetite suppressant. So we'll have a tendency to skip a meal, and the blood sugar will drop too low if you skip a meal. So I advise to eat 3 meals a day, at least, whether you're hungry or not. You have to eat by the clock rather than by your appetite system, because your appetite is so suppressed during some time. So if you make sure you don't skip your meals and you eat 3 times a day, it'll be less likely that you crave sugar as well.
Okay, I'm looking for the next question. Who's got it?
I'm wondering, I have a question.
Yeah, okay.
How do you make it through the holidays and celebrations? I have many coming up that I have to go through and not cheat.
Usually what I do before I go to a wedding is I have a steak and a salad before I go. That gets me through the hors d'oeuvres, it gets me through all the picky foods, and by the time they serve dinner, I'm ready for another dinner. And it's easy to eat out on this diet. There's always a protein and there's always a vegetable. Just pass up the potato and pass up the breadsticks, and you'll be full at the end of the meal because it's such a high-fat, high-protein meal.
Okay, did we answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, now, see if we got anybody else with a question.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Right.
My daughter is eating a lot on this diet, and she's not losing that much weight.
Okay, is she by any chance taking any medications?
She's taking birth control pills.
Uh-huh. Okay, anything else? Birth control pills, all right. But you know, the inability to lose weight, you want to know the most common cause of all? It's medications. It can be antidepressants, it can be the menopausal pills, it can be a variety of pills for the blood pressure. Always they're giving you some medication to prevent something from happening, and what it's preventing from happening is losing weight. I don't believe in just stopping a medication. I believe in replacing it with a phytonutrient that will get the same job done, only safer and without impeding your metabolism. And that is the answer, I think, to your daughter's problem and to many other people who are taking medications.
Thank you.
Okay, now, we got anybody else who has a question? Okay?
I have
Okay.
another question.
Sure.
I've been on the diet for a while, and it's working very well for me, but with the meat and the eggs and the cheese and the bacon, I'm kind of concerned about cholesterol. Can you address that?
On the diet, your cholesterol actually comes down. Americans are obsessed with this cholesterol fallacy, this myth that you eat high fats and high meats and your cholesterol goes up. Actually, on the diet, the cholesterol comes down, your LDL comes down, which is the bad cholesterol, and so do your triglycerides. It has a lot to do with sugar metabolism. Also, the use of anti-cholesterol drugs that you might be on deplete a vital nutrient, coenzyme Q10, which you need. So basically, you actually will have a reduction in cholesterol on this diet.
All right, let me just comment. We've had people who come to us on cholesterol-lowering medications, these statin drugs, and at the same time, they're religiously following the American Heart Association diet. We take them off of both the American Heart diet, and we put them on steak and eggs and butter, and we take them off the cholesterol medications. And we use some of the phytonutrients that we've talked about, but the diet combined with those phytonutrients will give better numbers than they had when they were taking the medicine. And that's just how beneficial it can be. Okay, we have another question. Yes.
I have a question. we've touched on exercise a little bit, but in order for this program to really work, do I have to exercise?
You do not have to exercise to lose weight on this diet, but it's not a bad idea. It's a healthy choice, it's the right decision, but you could be on this diet, still lose weight and not exercise. As a cardiologist, I feel you should develop an exercise program because it will help you lose the weight faster. But the answer to your question, no, you do not have to exercise. You could still lose weight.
Right. Do you think I'll have more energy once I get onto this diet, and then I'll have more energy to exercise?
You know, it doesn't take more than 3 days before you'll notice that. You won't have to wait a long time to know what more energy feels like. Okay, we got another person with a question.
Yeah, I have another question, Dr. Atkins. When I achieve my goal weight,
Yes.
and I want to maintain that,
Right.
can I stay on this diet for the rest of my life?
Well, actually, the whole purpose is to get you to your goal weight, eating in such a way that you wouldn't want to eat any differently. Now, that's not this diet. That's a version of this diet. That's the version that's for you. And what you're going to do as you go through the program now is you're going to find out your own critical carbohydrate level for maintenance. How far can you go in carbohydrates before you start to gain weight? Well, you know you got to stay below that. Now, what can you add to the diet and enjoy it? Well, that's up to you. What are your favorite foods? But this is the other way in which you make your choices. Which of these favorite foods of yours that you'd like to add to your diet are the healthiest? Which are the most nutrition dense? Which ones will help you in other ways? Now, you do that, first of all, you're going to feel better right at that point, and you're going to learn to keep the same weight. You won't have to change your diet. If I can't get you to arrive at your goal weight eating in a way in which you won't want to change, we won't have a success. So be thinking about that as you approach your goal weight. What am I going to want to be eating for the rest of my life? If you answer that question correctly, that's what you will be eating for the rest of your life, and you'll stay slim for the rest of your life.
At the center, the way we deal with maintenance is the first thing we like to add is more vegetables, because that's where you have all of the nutrients that we're looking for. Then we'll add nuts, and then we'll add fruit. And grains and bread and alcohol are some of the last things that we add, because we want, as Dr. Atkins said, the nutrient-dense foods first. Not only do you need to watch the scale in this phase, but you have to check your measurements. Sometimes the way the scale doesn't show the weight loss as quickly as your inches do, the same way with gaining weight. You might start to spread. Don't wait until you put your dungarees on and you can't button them. Check your inches as you begin to introduce foods, and you'll begin to find what your parameters are and how to maintain your weight.
Okay, have we got another question?
Finding that my clothes are fitting looser, but the scale is just not moving.
We're just so fixated on the scale, and that's why I'll repeat myself again. The scale is not psychic. It can't tell me how much lean body mass. An athlete will weigh 10 pounds more than any BMI scale out there because they have more muscles. So you need to remember that your body proportions are changing. You're working on a fat metabolism, so you have more lean body mass, and that weighs more than fat. Don't get stuck on the scale. Watch your measurements and watch how you feel. If you start craving carbohydrates again, you're eating too many carbohydrates. If you start to crave sugar, you've gone beyond what your body can tolerate. As long as your appetite is under control and your inches are okay, throw the scale out.
So how often should I weigh myself?
Once a month.
Just once a month?
Maybe once every 2 weeks if people can't stand
That'll take
it.
some
As
work.
long as you're checking your inches and you're watching how you feel. You have to get in touch with what the diet is producing for you as far as energy production is concerned, and how much control you have over your obsession with food. And once you become in touch with that, then that's a better scale than anything.
Now, there's one more reason why people don't lose weight. It can be the thyroid gland. Have you had your thyroid gland checked? Okay. It came out normal, right? Here's what can often happen. The blood tests for the thyroid come out normal, but there's one thing that doesn't. That's the body temperature. People don't recognize how important it is to know that the thyroid gland actually regulates our body temperature. If it's failing, you're not as warm as you should be. Now, everybody's heard that we're supposed to have a temperature of 98.6. Well, we don't all do that, but generally we do have it in the 98s. Now, if your temperature is well below that, it may well be that a lack of thyroid is the reason that you're not losing. People who've been on diets for a long time often fail to convert their T4, which is the usual output of the thyroid, to T3, which works better. And that happens when you've been on a diet for a long time. How do you know that? You take your temperature. I'm talking about a glass bulb thermometer that you put under your tongue. And you do it before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and before bedtime, and you average out those temperatures. If it turns out that they're below 98 degrees, you may want to have your thyroid looked into. It's going to require a prescription, but look into it because it may be the answer. Have we got another question someplace?
Yeah, Dr. Atkins, I have one more question.
Okay.
I have all these friends who are on low-fat diets, and most of them, for most of them, they're just not working. What can I tell them to convince them to try this?
I think the fact that they're not working should make them want to look for something that does. And what I would ask them is, would you like to try a diet that works now? And I would think they would say yes, and say, well, then go on the Atkins program. Just do it for 2 weeks. You will see success in that very short time, and I think you're going to have some pretty happy campers if you do that. Just make sure you understand it, do it, you'll change your life, you'll change it once and for all, you'll get rid of your weight problem and have mastery of it for life. You have all that it takes to accomplish what you've always wanted to do. I thank you so much for joining us.